Countdown to kickoff, the team, the New York Giants. They go 3-14 last year, but they do not get the number 1 overall pick. Tied for the worst record. Have some bad luck there. 0-6 in the division. Negative 142 in point differential. That is 4th worst in all of football. One thing that certainly stood out to me, Sam, we always talk about the quarterbacks. You should, especially if there's quarterback change. Another instance where they completely swap out the quarterback room. Get rid of everybody. Get rid of Daniel Jones. That happens in the middle of the year. DeVito, Lockboyle, get them all out, and they bring in 3 new names. It's Russell Wilson, it's Jameis Winston, and they draft Jaxson Dart. The big question that will be looming all season, when do they make the flip? We're assuming that they're not going to start the season with Dart, no matter what Giants fans say. But it's going to be, okay, when do you make that move? Because they're not expected to have a good year, and we'll explain why. It's probably going to be awful. Wouldn't surprise me if they have the number 1 overall pick. But Dart will get his chance. You have to find out what you have in Dart before going into the next draft. So when do they pull the plug on Russ/Jameis and go to Dart? That's the big question, and that's going to impact any Giants futures bet we talk about.
So many numbers to break down with all of these teams. And obviously the Giants are a bad team. The win total is 5.5. 17-game season, 5.5. That's the over-under. But the number that I wanted to begin my angle with was the number on New York to win the division. 28-1 at BetMGM to win the East. That's how improbable it is mathematically. And again, this is not a hot take. This is a financial market. They have an implied 3% chance to win the division. Now, that might seem a little bit low, and it is that low because of the perceived positivity from not only Philly, but Washington. The Eagles just won the Super Bowl and bring a lot of that back, so they're going to be a heavy favorite. They're minus 150 or higher, depending on where you shop. But then the Commanders went to the NFC Championship game. So the hype and the magnet for money is so real for both Philly and Washington. And then you have America's team that brings in money. Every year, people bet the Cowboys the way they bet the Bears, the way they bet the Steelers. So you have 3 magnets right now, and then nobody wants to bet the Giants. So what the books are doing is basically making the number as high as they possibly can without getting ridiculous. You could make it 50, but somebody's going to bet 50. And then if they pull it out of their you-know-what, you're going to have to pay 50 and 45 and 40. You'd much rather pay 28 than 50. But the books are telling you this team has no chance to win the East. No chance.
What would you say is the toughest division in the NFC?
I could go either way with it. I think the best division, the most complete division, is the North.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the weakest division is the South, and then that would leave the West and the East. But I mean, from a power
agree
rating
with North.
standpoint, like the ceiling in the East is better than the North.
Okay,
but
I agree with
the
North.
Toughest division. I didn't answer your question.
It's East or North, right?
North. Right.
It's the East or North. Okay, so the Giants are in one of the toughest divisions in the East. Guess what division the East is playing? The East is playing the North. So now, so the Giants are in a very tough division, looking up at 3 very tough teams, and they're facing the North in the NFC. You always get matched up with an NFC division and AFC division with your schedule. That's, outside of your division, obviously. So they get matched up with the North. AFC, what do you think's the best division?
AFC North.
Okay. I think you could also go West because of the arrow pointing up for the Chargers and the Broncos. But you could say North. They're getting matched up with the West, which is right there. Another one of the top 2 divisions. So if you go by win total, the New York Giants have the toughest schedule in the NFL. They were awful last year, tied for the worst record. It's a very similar story to the Browns. And then they get the toughest schedule. They've got, let's see, home games outside the division. Chiefs, Chargers, Niners, Packers, and then they go to Denver, they go to Chicago, Detroit, New England could pop and have a good year. We mentioned the Bears could pop, have a good year. And that's not to mention Philly, Washington, Dallas. Like, it is brutal. Bad team, brutal schedule. There's going to be a quarterback change. There's a quarterback change to start the season. The rookie quarterback's going to play at some point. We don't know if Andrew Thomas is healthy. He's huge for this team with the left tackle. I think Abdul Carter's going to be great. I don't disagree with the pick. That's a nice piece to build around. And you pair him with Dexter Lawrence, that's pretty impressive. But it is going to be tough, man. It is going to be so tough for Dayball and Shane to keep their jobs after what I'm expecting this season.
The best wide receiver doesn't even know how long a yard is. Did you catch that video on social over the weekend?
Neighbors say no.
They gave him not a ruler, but a measuring tape. Like the circle that pulls out. And they said, how long is a yard? And he took the end and dragged it 8 inches and stopped and looked at it and looked at the host and looked back at it and went, this. So then they took the measuring tape that was out to 7 or 8 inches and took it to the practice field. And it wasn't even close. Obviously, a yard is 3 feet, which I learned watching Little Giants in 1995.
Yep.
A yard is 36 inches. Malik Neighbors thought it was 8 inches. That's a problem, right?
Well, it's like 8 inches to him. It's that dude. It's just
how are you so far off? How are you so far off?
I assume that he's just been a supreme athlete his entire life and he never had to do anything with school. That's how I think we get there. But yeah, that's bad. That's bad. I would think, is it because we were like always into sports, like we knew little stupid stuff like that? I don't know. That's bad. Oh,
I played organized football for about a week in Pee-wees. I was the littlest kid on the team. They put me in at running back, and I got my clock cleaned by a 10-year-old that was 6 foot and 200 pounds. And I said, I'm done. I'm done with this. But I knew then how long a yard was. How are you an NFL wide receiver?
I don't know.
And you're asked how long a yard is, and you come up with 8 inches when it's 36.
The worst part is he thinks a yard is shorter than a foot.
This is what I think about when I think of the Giants. They're priced to win the division, the toughest schedule in the NFL, and their best receiver doesn't know how long a yard is. That's where they're at, buddy.
Are they up for worst record?
100% they are. Why not?
Mm-hmm. I don't know how to bet this team. Like, part of this process is we're trying to come up with wagers, props, and all that. Every prop goes through, okay, who's the quarterback going to be? I don't know. Who's the left tackle going to be? I don't know. I don't have an answer to a lot of these questions. It's a brutal schedule. I think the under is pretty easy. I don't see them getting to 6. How do they get to 6?
They'd have to win a bunch of games because of their defense. But the issue with their defense, as good as it could be, when you're on the field for 40 minutes a game, it adds up. It adds up.